Sorry for the slight delay. Copies of the statements are being printed. You'll get it very shortly. I understand the top table has already been introduced. And so we'll proceed with the briefing. As usual, the General Secretary of Cosatu will read out a statement. The other comrades on the top table will be welcome to add, and then we'll give you your chance to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. The statement reads as that tonight at 8 o'clock, we are calling on all SABC 1 viewers to switch off their TV or switch to another channel to protest against the disgraceful dismissal of 16 of our favorite actors in the Generations by MMSA, the company which produces the show for the SABC. They got rid of them when they made absolutely justifiable demands for better pay and improved working conditions. Cosatu, the Creative Workers Union of South Africa, CUSA, and the Communication Workers Union, CWU, are throwing their weight behind the actors who have been out of work for a month and are determined to win their reinstatement. We now warmly welcome the support from our allies, the African National Congress, the South African Communist Party, and SANCO, who have given the campaign a big shot in the arm. We attach here a statement that has been issued by the Alliance on Friday, fully supporting the tonight blackout of SABC 1. The fight of the 16 symbolizes the battle of all creative workers, the actors, the musicians, and the technicians who entertain us on a daily basis on stage, in the cinemas, on television and radio, yet are routinely exploited by production companies and broadcasters. Our campaign is not just for these 16, but for all workers in the entertainment industry, as well as all workers employed in the vulnerable sectors of the economy. Most entertainers are paid low wage, which in no way reflect either the value of their work or the pleasure it gives to thousands of our people. It is scandal that so many of our greatest artists die in poverty after a lifetime of entertaining the public. Their problems include extremely long hours, as much as 13 hours a day, with no social security, such as the UIF, the retirement funds, the medical aid, the maternity benefits, the parental rights, and sick leave. No consistency in the levels of remuneration, royalties, and not paid commercial exploitation, as well as commercial exploitation by YouTube and other broadcasters internationally. But the biggest problem is the insecurity of their employment. Actors' career lifespan, much like sports stars, is brief, lasting generally between 10 and 15 years, in contrast to the average career lifespan of 30 to 40 years. They are normally tied to short-term contracts which cover only the time to produce the show, leading to a period of unemployment. Media reports that generation actors earn on average $55,000 a month are false. These reports are false and ignore the fact that generations made the SABC a profit of between 500 million to $1 billion rands in one financial year, but they have failed to pay royalties calculated over 11 years now, and we think that this is a blatant robbery. In any case, we must compare apples to apples. Around the world, performance remuneration reflects the massive profit which are made, which is why the top international stars earn hundreds and billions of dollars, whilst their South African counterparts die as paupers. When foreign actors perform on South African production, they also earn more than their local counterparts. Cosatu fully agrees with the 16-actor statement that, and we quote, "We live in a country that is notorious for artists living and dying in state of poverty, tragically never managing to earn what is their due, despite being associated with a number of successful projects." And it goes further, "There is no reason whatsoever that we should live as struggling actors when our show generates an incredible income for the production house and broadcaster." The Federation also backs Communication Workers Union of South Africa's call for a minimum 3-year contract for actors and equitable employment, especially for actors who have served for more than 5 years, royalty payments for repeats, and any commercial licensing to other countries. The recognition of COSA as the union to organize and represent actors, other creative workers within the SABC family. Cosatu urges the actors to join COSA and work with them to reach an acceptable settlement, get their jobs back, continue to entertain their millions of fans, and create a precedent for all actors to be treated with the respect for the important work they do and to be given payments, benefits, and job security that acknowledges their contribution to our country and its economy. The companies who produce shows for stage, the television, radio are part of one of the least transformed sectors of our economy. Two only such companies are not Lily-White owned. No art galleries, no museums or recording companies are owned by the previously disadvantaged. There is no black casting directors or agents. There is no transformation in this sector at all. These rich parasites cannot see beyond the profit they amass from the labor of their workers, who they regard as expendable once their show come to an end. But the broadcasters are a bit as responsible for the exploitation of the creative workers. Just like companies who use labor brokers to avoid their responsibility towards workers, broadcasters outsource production to these companies to dodge their own responsibility and do not even monitor or enforce clauses in the contracts that lay down minimum wages and working conditions. The commercial broadcasters are motivated by the same greed as the producers, looking for the cheapest tenders, regardless how the company achieves this, and turning a blind eye to the exploitation of workers. But should the SABC, our public broadcaster, not be the one exception to the rule? By setting higher standards, we ask a question. Sadly, however, there is no better than their commercial, sadly, however, they are no better than their commercial rivals. They must also take responsibility for the low pay and insecurity of the actors. Musicians, the technicians whose work bring them so many devoted actors, whose, let me repeat that full sentence so that it doesn't go and lose the meaning. They must also take the responsibility for the low pay and insecurity of the actors, the musicians and technicians whose work brings them so many devoted viewers, including those technically employed by production companies. This problem is part of a much wider malaise within the SABC, the most important media structure in South Africa, if not in the African continent as a whole, with 4 TV stations and 18 radio stations, which ought to be the voice of the South African people and reflect their lives and concerns. The SABC does produce many programs which comply with this vision, but overall, especially on TV, it is still very far from fulfilling its mandate. The underlying reason is that SABC's financial situation, that 80% of its funding comes from advertising, which has forced the SABC, especially its TV stations, to plan its programming on the potential revenue from the advertisers and sponsors who are inevitably concerned more with the number of viewers and listeners which they reach than the quality of their shows. Although a public institution, it is forced to operate as if it was a commercial entity, just like its private rivals, and keep an eye on the potential revenues from advertising and sponsorships. That is why it broadcasts far too cheap imported sitcoms and soap operas and pay little as possible for programs it buys from independent producers. The situation has been even made worse by financial mismanagement, I must say, allegations of corruption and an outrageous waste of resources, which has been exposed by the Public Protector and the Auditor General's reports. The SABC is also plagued by governance crises, which inevitably impact on their programming. Since 2007, it has had 3 board of directors, 2 interim boards, 6 CEOs, resignation by board members, serious allegations of corruption and waste of resources. To resolve all of these problems, government needs to implement the ANC policy on funding for the SABC, as in its Mangaung Conference resolution, which calls, and we quote, for the government in line with the resolution of the 52nd Conference to increase its funding of the SABC, close quote. Government funding, however, cannot be unconditional, but conditional on prioritizing national, social, and economic goals above private interests, fast-tracking the development of local productions, and proper pay and working conditions for all of these workers who are employed, either directly or indirectly, to produce programs. So the week-long national switch-off by viewers starting tonight will be from 2000 hours until 2000 hours and 30 on SABC TV 1, as well as the repeats at 9:30 to 10 o'clock on SABC 3, and the omnibus from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock on Saturday, the 20th of September. What then happens after that will depend on the reaction of both SABC and the MMSV in relation to the demands that we are placing on the table. Should this not lead to any form of reaction, then we will come back to you probably to call for another week of a blackout, and if that also does not bring a desired results, we will not be tired moving forward. While the immediate goal is to win the reinstatement of the Generation 16 so that they can continue to entertain their millions of fans and create a precedent for all actors to be treated with respect for the important work they do and to be given payments, benefits, and job security that acknowledges their contribution to our country. The campaign will be broadened to organize all creative workers into the ranks of COSA and free all creative workers from the exploitation and poverty, and strive to transform the whole industry, which is currently overwhelmingly white-owned, so that it reflects the majority of the South African people. The Generations campaign must, however, be part of Cosatu's broader campaign to organize all vulnerable workers and those under attack from the employers. We are already mobilizing support for the Aurora mine workers who have not been paid for 5 years, the sacked municipal workers in Sasolburg, the metal engineering workers locked out by the NIESA employers. We attach here the statement that goes into the detail in relation to that lockout, which also have the list of the companies that have locked out the workers for 3 months now, as well as we will be announcing tomorrow or day after a date which we will be converging at the offices of ADCOP to take up the issue of the fact that they are the main beneficiaries of the government tax incentive scheme. So what follows there, ladies and gentlemen, is the details of what we've just referred you to, the list of the companies that are locking out workers, with a plea and a statement to all the Cosatu provinces to ensure that they organize solidarity actions and provide the brutality of those companies under NIESA. We also attach the statement as Annexure 2, which have been issued on Friday by Cosatu, ANC, SABC, and SANCO, backing the blackout and the switch off tonight, which we quite appreciate, as well as covering a range of other issues. That's the end of our statement. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Would anybody else on the top table like to add?
No, that's our question.
Thank you, Patrick. Thanks, Nabala. The current generation saga is bringing sharply into the public eye the plethora of difficulties and challenges that this person called a creative worker has got. Their main crime is simply saying, I am a service provider and therefore I know how much am I worth. And after serving for some time, I'm therefore asking that if my remuneration or my salary or my income could be adjusted to be in par with what I am offering out there. And that's the only crime that they have, of identifying what they are worth, because unfortunately our country has had this mindset that says these people called creative workers must just accept whatever they get. There's actually a line that is so popular. They will tell you when you go to auditions, the first thing that they say to you, you have got the part, but the producer says it doesn't have enough budget. That has been a very popular line. And so they were able to stick around for some time up until they asked for a raise. And that's why now they're in the streets, because the whole industry is not used to people who know what they're worth and therefore demand that. But the second thing that we want to quickly point out is that the industry is such that I've already mentioned that it has a lot of problems or challenges. Chief amongst them is the non-alignment of ministries. All the issues that need to be addressed, for instance, from what the General Secretary has read in the statement, must go through different ministries in government. You talk about the intellectual property, you talk to the DTI. You talk about international productions coming in and out, you're talking home affairs. You talk about the issues of local content, you're now talking to the Ministry of Communication. So all these other things, we hope this is a start and eventually working towards sorting them out. Unfortunately, it has to start this way, but it will end up opening many other doors, because this has moved from being a generation saga, it's an industry saga. Thank you.
Can you shift? Sorry, you volunteered, not me.
Thank you.
Which company are you working for?
Sorry, more, but you're doing a wonderful job. One more.
As you are.
Oh, that's all right.
Thank you and welcome everybody, and would like to thank you for being here. I would just like to speak broadly to the rest of the industry, the actors in our industry, that they have to realize now that this journey that we've started, these things that we are fighting for, it is for the benefit of each and every actor in this industry. It is not focused at just improving the quality of life or ensuring the quality of life for the 16 individuals that have been affected in this matter. It is to make sure that each and every actor in this country works in an environment that is free of exploitation, that is free of intimidation, where you have contracts that will guarantee you a sustainable life. And we say to each and every one of these actors who might be interested to replace any one of us, we say you'll be going back to the same situation, which will come back to haunt you if you do not join this Mzabala Zuwaruna. We therefore urge every single actor in this country to join us. This is about time that we become united, unionized as a sector. It is for the benefit of this industry. And going forward, we'll keep on ensuring that the artists in this country get to know. Would like to invite them to our discussions so that we can talk about industry issues. And we move away from saying this is a generations issue. It is an industry matter, and that needs every actor in this country to join. We are happy with the support that we have enjoyed so far as an industry, not as the 16. We are happy with some of the actors who have pledged their support, but we know they are not they are not ready as yet to come out because they are still involved in those productions. The day we announce a victory of some sort or an agreement with the SABC and the MMSV, they will then come out and say, we are part of this. We take full responsibility of the actions that we've taken. We believe in the values and ideals that we stood for, that they can only benefit the industry. Thank you.
Can I just make that call that Patrick is making? And thank you for raising the issue.
Multi-skilling. We will give you some forms at the end of this press conference.
To join the Communication Workers Union. We want to make a call to all of these other actors who may not be involved in this particular strike, who may be tempted to enlist their names and for exploitation by the MMSV moving forward. And our call to them is, don't cross the picket line. Don't make yourselves scab labor. Don't add salt to the injury, not only of these 16, but of all of those who are looking at this particular action with very keen interest, because they too are going through the same exploitation. We know that the reason why Mfundi Vundla have developed so much arrogance is because he can always tap on the crisis of our unemployment in South Africa, as well as the availability of other actors who are very keen to replace those that are on strike. We're calling on every actor in South Africa, known or not known. Don't allow yourself to be used against your own interest as an actor. This is your struggle, as much as we may be talking now about the Generation 16, but this is the struggle of all the actors in South Africa. Don't cross the picket line. Don't be used by the arrogant producing companies in order to maintain and continue the exploitation of your fellow actors. We will be looking at who are those willing to take over into the so-called Generations 2. We will be listing their names, and where we can, we will put their names up in the public and ask workers all over the country to persuade them not to be scabs and not to act in the manner that will undermine the interest of the rest of the workers. And this persuasion will go everywhere. We will picket where this production cast is normally doing its business to produce this entertainment for all of us, but we will take it to their homes as well, to the ship-ins, to every other social platform, to convince them that they should not allow themselves to be used by the arrogant producing companies.
Thank you, Comrade. I think it would be an injustice for us as creative workers. Maybe just let's have all the actors just to stand up, all the members of the Creative Workers Union to stand up. And salute, I want us to salute Cosatu for taking the stance, because one of the main challenges that we have faced in this sector has been the lack of political will. Now our issues are taken at that level, and I see a better future for all. Viva Cosatu, viva! Viva!
Right, thank you all very much. It's now time for your questions. Can I have an indication? If you would please introduce yourselves and press the button on the speaker. One. I'll take 3 at a time. 2. Well, we'll take 2.
Hi, Colin Esky from the Business Day. 2 questions. You mentioned the 500 billion to 1 billion rand profit in a single financial year. Which financial year was that? And a little bit more details on this royalties. You said they're not being paid. And then second, just a side question, the mobilization of support issue, Sasolburg, Aurora, but specifically the metals and engineering sector. The Labour Court ruled that lockout's legal. How exactly do you plan to mobilize workers there? Thank you.
Uncle Pat's not working. I've got a lot worse, it's fine. No, it's fine, I'll stand. It's Mama Polani from SABC Radio News. My first question is Bob Jobe. You speak about the worth of an actor. How do we then develop the actors to give us something worth watching? There are some actors who can act for 15 years, but they don't change, they don't grow. What is the union doing in order to develop their talent so that they are, what's the word? They are something that we want to, what's that word, English word I'm looking for? No, basically an entity that we want to watch and have them on TV. I know that even though Generations has managed to keep the audience, a lot of people are moving away from it because they don't see the actors growing further than being in that soapie. For example, a lot of people that I've spoken to on the street, they want to see more from the actors, not just being in soapies. Move to movies. Can you not make the situation where you guys own the work that you do, become the producers, don't just be the actor, don't just go for the audition, write your own stories. So from the union side, what are you doing to ensure that you're moving them from just being the work and just being the talent and being the owners and being the producers and they own their stuff? Because yes, you're going to fight this fight to say we want more money, that's another story. That's another story as well. But here he's saying that what are you doing to bring it up? The second question is in terms of saying that you want a sustainable living wage. When you're looking at the situation now, especially on the parallel of these workers who are being locked out in the engineering sector, in the metal sector, is it not the fact that some people are saying you guys are asking for too much? Because his people, miners who are working 13 hours a day as well, earn 4,500 rand. You have nurses and cops who work 12-hour shifts, 7 days in a row, who don't earn as much as you do. They earn a fraction. But that's what I'm saying. What is it that makes it seem that people must support your cause against the ones that are the other people working?
I might have missed it, but there was talk about a march to the SABC, but there doesn't seem to be any detail on specifically when it's going to happen. Can you just elaborate on that? If it's going to happen, when, what can we expect from that? Thank you.
Right, who would like to answer?
I want the actors themselves to answer the question about the financial year and how much the SABC is making on average, the issues of the royalties, and as well as any other matter that is they comfortable with. We will all answer the questions. Yeah.
Tommy, it's very interesting. We'll go around in a second, but I just want to respond to the very emotional appeal by my sister here. You see, you cannot compare the apple with the mango. In terms of why do we think we are worth these cents that we want, that we want, I then throw the question back at you and say, have you ever asked yourself how much does a foreign actor, international actor, earn coming to the shows and work in this country? Has it ever occurred in any one South African that they get paid a hell of a lot of money compared to us as their compatriots? We haven't. In terms of creating work, we're looking also at questions such as, has the industry made it possible for black artists or African artists? Has it made it easy for them to get into being producers? We cannot have the one producer in the country and we celebrate that. I mean, there's only Tumagan Dlovu. Every time you send your proposal, they have a special condition that you have to be shepherded by another company that has experience. And unfortunately, those companies that do shadowing are mostly white or white. And these are things that perhaps we don't know. As to the stories, and I always talk about developing compelling and interesting narratives. I think it is your responsibility as a taxpayer and a license payer to say you can't put that blame on the actor who's only contracted to project or portray a part. You as a license holder, yeah, SABC, you should take the SABC to task and say, why are you not giving us compelling stories that celebrates us as South African, compelling stories that talks about our liberation, that projects African life in a positive way? Why is it that in each and every production where black people are being expressed, they come out as drug addicts, they come out as criminals, they come out as rapists? There is nothing that projects Abu Dhaki in a positive sense. So am I a good actor because I can play a criminal? Am I a good actor because I can, do drugs? Am I a good actor? Surely those are not the traits of a good actor in this country. But I say the onus is on you as a license holder. You cannot put the gun now to the artist and say, why don't they do A, B, C, D, and F? The Bold and the Beautiful has been running in this country for years. Who's funding that? It is your taxpayers' money. And yet we don't complain about you seeing Brooke every day of your life. From the day when you were this young, you were happy to watch Brooke. There is something about us South Africans. We don't love ourselves. We are comfortable in watching all these imports. And then when it is us, you want to put a lifespan. You want to say, no, you can only do this thing, play this part for Iskashani Steel. I think you're being unfair to yourself. I think you are robbing yourself as a true South African to want to put your money into sustaining a foreign actor in his own homeland who's been in that production for hundreds of years. But here at home, you have questions as to why must you sustain them. And then Nampita will then take us through the numbers game.
And more.
And more. We have more.
And also at the end, you will follow my BSc study. Press the silver button. Somebody will switch them off.
Okay. Wouldn't it be better if she...
Can you come here? Come to the podium. Let's begin. Why don't you put these things there?
Thank you. Good morning, one and all. Thank you very much for being part of this conversation this morning. We're mighty grateful. I'm really grateful for your question, especially that it's coming. I'll wait. You must say action. Thank you once again for coming through this morning, and I'm grateful that we are having this dialogue. It's absolutely necessary and it's long overdue. The question that you've asked from the SABC is very pertinent, and I'm grateful that you've asked that. And I think it's actually quite telling that it's coming out of the SABC, which is one of our largest employers in the industry. So I'm going to address it to you directly and, of course, to everybody else. You're asking why it is that we're not going ahead and making our own productions. And let me just break it down to you as a journalist. Why are you not forming your own broadcasting company? That's what you've just asked me. Why are you not telling stories that you want to tell instead of the stories that the company says go and cover? That's what you've just asked me. I'm an employee. I have a career that now spans more than 25 years. Are you telling me that after 25 years in any industry, that I should be dictated to on how much I should earn? That's what we're discussing here, ladies and gentlemen. When you tell me that I have to then switch it up from time to time, you should switch it up from time to time and see how you like them apples. Stop being a photographer for a while. Why don't you go tap dance? That's what you've just asked me. You need to really come to understand what it is that I do for a living. If I do my job correctly, you don't notice me. I'm that invisible thing in your life. So at 8 o'clock tonight, if you don't want me in your life, if you're tired of hearing about me, switch your television off. Take me out of your life. My job is when you want to de-stress, when you want to rest, you put me to work. That's what our relationship is. I'm not a burden in your life. I'm the person that helps you take your hair down. But if I do it correctly, you don't notice me taking your hair down. We are here to say to you, to remind you what role we play in your lives. And we're asking you to support us, continue to do what we do, and continue to be that person in your life that helps you put the day away. Devagana? When you're asking me why am I continuously going out to an audition, I want you to understand what happens in my life. At 47 years of age, when I get up to go to an audition, that for me is a job application. When was the last time you applied for a job? What's your job security that you're telling me now to not go out to an audition? In order for me to have a job, I have to go out and audition. At 47 years old, at 25 years experience, I still have to go and prove my worth. How dare you ask me not to go out there and feed my child? When was the last time you went for a job application? How much fun was that? I do it every day. Every time you write about me things that will affect my career, you limit my chances at my next job application. And you say it's your job. Is it your job to put me down? Is it your job to go out there and say Nambita had a fight with Patrick Shai? Is that your job? I think as we stand here, we're here talking about, and I'm so grateful to Cosatu and all the entire Alliance that we are here to uplift. We are workers. We get up in the morning and we work for a living. Work. That my work entertains you is irrelevant. Doesn't make it less important. Switch off your television to tell me and then show me how unimportant I am in your life. Switch it off. Don't put me to work tonight and tomorrow night and the night after that. Then come back and tell me you didn't miss me. Then come back and tell me how much you value me. Jabule.
Somebody asked, and well, she's still discussing now. We'll wait for her. She asked the question.
Numbers. Telephone numbers. She wants to give us a job. That's good.
She asked a question about what is it that the Creative Workers Union do to develop its members. Very good question. The one thing that I need to remind you of, my sister, is that many people, the many things that many workers take for granted are not in this industry. And one amongst those is that many of you know that many companies apply and get what is called skills development funds, and 1% goes to the particular area of development that is needed. Unfortunately, in our scenario, those kind of things don't happen. We are now beginning to engage CAT-SITA. The CAT-SITA is the SITA that is operating within this sector, because we want to make sure that we make a contribution towards development. And that development must include, among other things, financial literacy to most of our members who will do a gig today, and when he's going to do the next gig, all of a sudden does not have the money to reach the next destination, and that person must be taught how to manage his or her income. There are things like personal management, where we need to be empowering our members about branding, that the fact that you've released an album, it means you are already a brand. And so this is how you should be taking good care of yourself, and this is how you should be interacting with the public out there, so that the very people that you interact with at the street there with your car, driving your car, are the same people that are supposed to be your market. These are the people who must be buying your product. So you are correct, my sister, there are a lot of areas where we need to capacitate and develop our members. But once more, it's the issue of capacitation resources. But there's also another area. All these people will not be here today if we had a strong entertainment industry bargaining council. In this industry, there is no bargaining council, because the bargaining council that used to be there, we used to have proper labor reps, but no employer reps. You had a situation where the employer reps were people who are owning video shop owners, and those are irrelevant. You can't have those people calling themselves employers to these people, because they're just there to see that the sales of their videos increase, that's all. So you can't discuss anything that is worker related to them. So that's another challenge when I talk about the plethora of challenges in this industry that we still need to work hard for and see a proper, credible entertainment industry bargaining council in place. And of course, very, very sad is that when we wrote white papers and green papers to establish the Arts and Culture Department, we thought then we've scored a goal, we are fine. But unfortunately, we still have to sit down with those that are leading the Arts and Culture Department so that we begin to say to them, now that we do not have means and ways, we can't go to the Skills Development Act and fund, we can't go to any other funding to look for this particular resource to empower our own. Where then do we get these resources? We still have to engage in that kind of debate and discussion with the Department of Arts and Culture. And that is why we're in this point. But we have, at one-to-one, at a small scale, been giving our members some capacitation. But the point you raised, it's a point well made, but it's a matter of lack of capacity, lack of resources, because of the nature of the industry.
On the numbers question, I've said it before, and I will say it again just to remind ourselves. We're not going to answer questions around numbers because I think we understand. We're not running a game of fafi. We say to you as journalists, it is your responsibility to find out. All we give, it's a little carrot. Be the journalist that you are. Go out there and investigate. We speak of follow the money trade. And you're not as journalists. And yet you can ask us about whether it is fair of us to want A, B, C, D. We say there's a lot of money that is generated, a lot of money through royalties, through syndication fees, storyline integration. But we're not talking to those things. And I don't want to suspect that these are things that we don't know of. I think these are things that we know about, and these are things that we must chase as journalists, because that would make interesting reading. Oh, Sis Nambita is so spot on. That the level and perhaps the quality of journalism in this country and how they view the actors is to find the cracks in the life of an actor. You have an opportunity now to say, look guys, there's a bigger story. Where does this money go? Who manages all these accounts that are run on YouTube, on social media, where products are downloaded and people can download and watch us? So somebody is making that money. Somebody is making that money. But we want you to come back to us and say, we know where this money is made, how it is made, and who's managing that money. We want you to come back and say, we know how they've used your money. they've built A, B, C, D, E, F, or they've got A, B, C, D, E, F. Siswam, I was talking about the money numbers. And I'm glad to go to say SABC. Can you find that for us? What are my royalties generations when it's sold abroad or in the continent? How much are they selling it for? And what currency are they using? And who is in control of those monies? This fight, it is a fight for you as a journalist as well, who are contracted. You may have a little privilege or an advantage over me, the creative worker, but you face the same condition. When you die, you don't have a funeral policy, or medical aid. You don't. You are said the same story as me, but you have the power of the pen to destroy me while I'm telling your story. We are appealing to you to find each other in this whole discourse. When I say I'm going through a bad time, look at me. Let me be the mirror exercise. Let me reflect the type and the quality of life you are living. The fact that Unamanda weapon said, and you are being manipulated by your bosses to say, find this, it doesn't make you a journalist. Oh my God, how I wish the Net Nakases and the Blog Mudisanis of yesteryears were here. Quality journalists. How I wish we could start an institution and also capacitate the journalists in zone to write the substance. Move away from Gosi. How I wish. And once we've got that, I bet you I'm going to make you my first student for the whole year without any ilokuzana fees. Yongena mahala siswa funde by journalistic principle.
I wanted to say the questions that have been asked are all wonderful questions because they help highlight the issues that we're speaking to. There is no wrong question, there is no stupid question, there is no clever question. Every question being asked is making a contribution for us to help educate the public about the issues we are dealing with here. So I want to thank everybody that have asked a question and this afternoon or this morning. I wanted to just emphasize one issue about the transformation of the industry that the whole matter is highlighting. The strike of 16 people suddenly is helping us to focus on the broader transformation issues of the industry as a whole. My dearest sister from the SABC is asking a very important question. What is the union doing to help skill every actor? Secondly, why are these actors not moving and outgrowing the generations and all of these others? Thirdly, where are the movies linked to that second question? Where are the movies that we can say have been created by these actors out of the experience that they gain out of acting for 25 years, you're saying, Nandipa? How many years have been on the 30 years, 32 years, Patrick here. Then when we seek to answer those questions, we will then be speaking to the transformation of the industry. The reason why I'm told the longest actor in the current cast of generation is Sophie, have been there for 20 years. How many? 21 years. Is it Sophie dumb-headed or lazy or unskilled to such a point that you will want to stay there for 21 years and not move on? I don't think so. I think that firstly, she's earning too low for her to begin to have ambitions of opening her own jive somewhere in the corner. And that's what this strike is all about. Secondly, I think that even if she can have ambitions to be a movie director, creator, in the South African context, the environment is such that we're not driving that as the agenda of the country. And that's why we are criticizing SABC here. Because if that was the drive, if the SABC, when it commissions the films and the writers, was to insist on telling the South African story and transformation of the industry that remains lily white, to move away from that, perhaps that will give an opportunity to Sophie and others to create their own films and to move out of the generation. That's why we're looking at this issue broader than just the issue of the wages. This is about the transformation as a whole. We are fighting other battles, and as you are pointing out, including the SABC battle, by the way, you ask a question, when is the march? We decided on a march on Friday as the Alliance, and we will announce a date very soon when that march is going to be. There was a date that the SACP had proposed. We feel that that date must be brought forward so that the march can still happen during the Heritage Month of September. So it's going to be sometime in September. It's going to be announced probably by the SACP with our full support as Cosatu, the ANC, and Sanko. The other battles are as important, by the way. Thank you very much for highlighting them. The lockout by NIESA is despicable, that for 3 months they have not allowed workers to earn a wage after they have made so much sacrifice as part of them belonging to a bargaining council legally recognized in the laws of this country. And that's why we're making a call on all workers. Wherever there is still a worker locked out, pledge solidarity, support those workers in any way that is possible. The issue of the workers that have been dismissed in Sasol, we're happy that there is an agreement that they all return. The only problem now that is between us solving that issue altogether is the insistence by the management that the 27 shop stewards that were suspended must not return with the rest of the 270 workers that has been dismissed. So we are attending to that issue, and we are quite positive that we're going to be solving it as well. Thank you very much.
Just in addition to what our colleagues have said with regards to some of the issues that were, or the questions that you had raised, my sister, with regards to just to give clarity, the issue of royalties, we signed a contract with the producers in the understanding of the SABC with an amount of 2%. And we're simply saying that even that 2% itself is not paid. So when you go and you ask, you say, please pay me the royalties that we agreed to, and they tell you that no, that agreement does not hold any water. Then you start to question the issues of saying that, what kind of an industry are we in? And also just to also clarify, if you're going to call this an industry, then there must be some sort of protection, because all the other different industries are protected. Our industry is not protected, which puts us in very vulnerable positions whereby you are unable to negotiate for anything. The moment you have a voice, you become victimized. Are we saying that we want to promote such an industry which, if we really look at Africa as a whole, we celebrate through music and arts. The reason why we are all gathered here today is because of an industry, an entertainment industry. That's why there are different broadcasters every single day. And it's our responsibility also as artists, because of we influence as to how the society carries itself. You know, just to touch on what Brad Pitt has said, if you're only going to be saying that you as a black person, you're only as good as a thug, a drug user, then for somebody who is also sitting there at home with nothing to do, but saying that you are nothing, you are nothing, you are nothing, then you are going to simply start to believe that you are nothing. So we also want to regulate the industry so we can also start to tell good stories, so that individuals must also know that anything is possible. You see, sometimes as a young individual, you have a dream to say, I want to become a CEO of a company. I want to become a doctor. And we also play a role as artists to tell these stories, to say it is possible. So if we do not nurture this industry, what kind of a country are we building? And you know, it's one thing also for our black journalists, you know, to also want to shun down whenever we want to see growth. Let us really focus on the key issues here. The issue is not just money. It's about lives of individuals. Because you must remember that, you know, and just to reiterate, the lifespan of an artist is how long? If you are a doctor, then you can sign 5-year contracts, 10-year contracts. That means that banks can actually give you a lesson when you come into a bank and say, I would like to buy a house. Sophie, in our first press conference, said that every single year you renew a contract, you renew a contract. So that means we are risks. Does that mean that we must not have kids? Does that mean that we are not privy to have a house? What does it mean? It's a call to say, let us build a better South Africa. And by doing that is making sure that every single industry is protected. Is it wrong for us to say we want to be protected? Is it wrong for us to say we want to entertain you? We want to come into your lives every single day? Because if you know, you meet young kids in the street and they say, I want to become an actor. And then you even fear to tell that young kid to say, do not come into this industry. Then what are we saying about our industry? And when you say that we do not give quality work, it's an insult. It is an insult. The difference with South African productions and overseas productions is that an actor overseas will get 6 months or even a year or even 2 years of preparation to say, here is your script, prepare for a role. A South African actor, you audition today, you get cast tomorrow, and you are expected to give world-class performance. And which is what we do. It is a job. We love what we do. Please do not trivialize what we do. Because we want to entertain you. So when you say, you know, there's books where you say an actor prepares. There is a lot that we do. As creative workers, we work from the psychology. It drains you mentally. You can imagine if you are going to play a serial killer tomorrow. There is a lot of preparation that goes into that. It's like a doctor going into an operation. There is preparation, there are proper steps. They say, okay, these are the steps that you're going to take. And we also do the same, like in every single job. We wake up every day like a normal worker. We give you 13 hours of our time. But in that 13 hours, the conditions that we work in are just not conducive for us.
Okay, one more question. Two more.
I just wanted to repeat Mrs. question about which financial year, because it hasn't been answered earlier. It was part of the response saying we must look good at ourselves.
Just to add on, if you recall what Ugrab had said, follow the money trail. Follow the money trail. And we'd really, really, really appreciate it if you would. You know, because it's very easy to say, hey, Ugrab was drunk at a tavern. You go out, and you find out what we do in our nightlives. The very same way that you find out what we do in our nightlives and our private lives, I'm sure you can surely find out which financial year.